If you're applying for a job, it's easy to make mistakes on your resumes and cover letters, but some of those mistakes could end up costing you that job. So today we're going to share 5 common mistakes you need to avoid on your cover letters and your resumes with business and career coach Angela Lucier. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
Let's get right to it because a lot of people, it's tough these days in the job market. So first thing is not sharing your accomplishments with people.
Well, sharing your accomplishments rather than your job description, because so many people will list their responsibilities like it was posted when they got their job instead of saying what they actually did on the job. So there's a huge difference. So let's say you're a salesperson for a manufacturing company selling t-shirts. You wouldn't just write on your resume, I sell t-shirts for a manufacturing company. You would want to say things like, I exceeded quota three quarters of the year out of 4, or I sold 500% more than I was supposed to. So it shows what you actually did rather than just, I showed up for work and I did that thing you told me to do.
That's true. Everyone's supposed to do their job description. The important thing is what's above and beyond your job description.
Exactly.
Next thing, people list way too many skills.
Yes, and it kind of makes you look like a jack of all trades. Like I had this one resume submitted. This guy was a woodworker. He was a teacher. He also did work in architecture. And I'm looking at it going, I don't know what this guy's applying for. I don't really know what his expertise is because he showed me everything because there was nothing targeted about his resume.
And that's the thing too, depending on the job, that's going to change how you tailor your resume.
Exactly.
Next thing, people forget to include all the good stuff, the awards, the promotions, all that.
Yeah, like if you worked in one job at one company for 10 years, but over the course of those 10 years you had 3 promotions, show me each job title and show me what you did to get promoted. Because that's way different than, oh, I was at this place for 10 years. Like, well, if you only had one job for 10 years, why didn't you move up? Oh, I did move up, I just forgot to mention that.
And similarly, people have stuff on there from a long, long time ago too. We don't want that.
Yeah, if it's over 10 years old, we don't really need to know what you did in high school or, what, your first job as a lawnmower. We want to know what did you do recently that made you shine, that would make me interested in hiring you.
And moreover, your last tip is you have to tailor that resume and that cover letter, for that matter, to the job. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, well, think about the company you're applying to. If it's like an extremely innovative company, you want to highlight the things about you that show that you're an idea person and you challenge the status quo and you like to mix things up and try new things. So highlight that stuff on your resume because that's what they're looking for. And
you're right. If you have something, let's say you're really good at woodworking like that one person and you're applying for a job maybe as a math teacher, those two things don't add up.
Right.
So you got to do what you're good at and show what's important.
Right.
Let's talk cover letters. The biggest mistake people make is not being specific. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of cover letters that just give a whole laundry list of skills, like I'm a great communicator and I'm a good multitasker and I'm very organized, and I'm reading this going, okay, but what's interesting about you? Like if you're a good communicator, tell me about a time when you use those communication skills to your benefit and to the company's benefit. And by telling interesting stories, you engage the reader and get them excited about what you're capable of.
That's true, yeah. No one wants that bullet point list. People want to have a story woven in a narrative because it's got to be boring reading cover letters.
Yeah, and it sort of illustrates and it puts into context those skills and when you use them and what was the outcome, how did they impact the company.
So you want to tell a story. That being said, you don't want to tell a book. Right. You don't want it to be too long. Why is that?
Yeah, because HR professionals and hiring managers, they might get 50 to 200 resumes per job. So they've got a giant stack and they might have an hour to review them. And if your cover letter is 3 pages long, they're probably skimming it in 5 to 10 seconds.
At best, the first couple lines, maybe.
Exactly. So put it in 2 paragraphs and put a lot of impact in those 2 paragraphs.
Now, another thing that we should discuss for the cover letters, if you have something in your resume that people would consider a red flag, do you want to discuss it or not discuss it, and then how do you handle it?
Well, you want to overcome objections by bringing them up before they become a problem. So if a hiring manager sees, wow, there's a 10-year gap on this resume, I'm not going to interview that person. Bring it up in the cover letter and say, you might notice there's 10 years in between 2 jobs. That's because I stayed home and parented my kids. Or, I was lost in a jungle. Or whatever happened to you.
Which could be a good story, depending on the job you're trying to get hired
for. Survival skills.
Yeah. But use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
That's a great point, though, yeah, because you don't want to be tossed into the no thank you pile before you've had a chance to explain yourself.
Exactly.
So if you're saving some witty banter for the interview period about why you were absent for 10 years, now put it in the cover letter.
Yeah, and on the other side, you may have had 50 jobs that you had for a month at a time, and the person reading that might go, wow, they got fired 50 times, or this person can't keep a job.
Yeah.
But you can talk about in the cover letter, I worked for a contractor, or I was working for a temp agency, or that's why I have all these different jobs. But by working short stints at different companies, I acquired a lot of skills to quickly understand the culture and all these cool
Yeah.
things that you wouldn't get if you worked at one company for a long time.
See, that's how we turn a negative into a positive right there.
Switching around.
The last tip, to whom it may concern. Don't do that. Even worse, to say to who it may concern.
Right.
It's always whom, but even still don't do it, right?
Right, because there's so much information on the internet. I mean, you can very quickly and probably easily find out who would be reading this letter. Is it the engineering director, or is it the human resources director? And find out their name. A lot of companies put who the team is on the website, and you can look it up.
So it's worth it. And this is the thing, it might not be your livelihood, but it's where you're going to get your income from. So it's worth doing that little bit of homework.
Yeah, personalize it.
Exactly. Now, we're not done with you yet. Later in the show, we're going to tell you what employers are looking for on your social media sites. So don't go anywhere.